Hello, hello. Welcome to Just Jenna. You have no idea how excited I am that you're here. I'll be sharing the wisdom, questions, and curious little truths I've gathered along the way. From brilliant thinkers to weird memes, from ancient texts to the knowing of nature. Some of what I've learned came from books, some from breakdowns, some from simply paying attention, and some from fumbling through it myself. My hope is that these stories expand you the way that they've expanded me. So maybe, just maybe, you don't have to trip over the same parts of life I did. And if you do trip and fall, it's okay. I won't tell anyone. Hi, my little chickadees. My little chicken, my little chickadees. Hi, you guys. I have an idea, actually, of what I want to talk about today. Again, it's very vague, very general. I also think I'm probably going to pull up my notes again, just kind of see what happens. You know what I mean? Just kind of play around, push record, and just open my mouth and let it loose. I have been writing something to publish on my Substack, and it's been taking me about a week, and I'm about halfway done with it. And I'm writing a piece about the Yamas and Niyamas, which is the first and second limb of yoga. Yoga is an 8-limb path. A lot of times people, when they think of yoga, they just think about the postures, and that's just one tiny little part of what yoga really is. And so, yeah, I've been working on a piece to, I don't know. I just want to. I am the type of person that is completely motivated by the process of doing. And if I like doing it, I'm going to do it. I love writing. I love learning and expanding my brain and my knowledge, my awareness and reflecting and all of those, things. So with that being said, I think I'm going to read a little bit of what I wrote, and I want to talk about one of the yamas in particular. And if you're like, what is a yama? What is a niyama? Where is this girl going? Just get on my train. I am the conductor. I promise not to lead you astray. Just strap in, push play, get a snack, chill out, take a breath. Anyways, there are so many rules for the areas of life that make no sense. No sense to me. No parking here. You have to pay for that. You can't walk over here. Don't touch that. Stay behind this line. And then there's areas of life that have no rules at all, and maybe there should be. I think about this a lot. There are parts of being alive that I cannot believe that we don't have some sort of guidance for. People are just out here doing whatever it is they want to do without a pause, without reflection, without any sort of compass. It's wild. It is absolutely wild to me. And I go back and forth between being fascinated by this and being deeply unsettled by it. The word rules itself is one of those words that are incredibly charged. So what do I mean by charged? I mean that this word itself causes you to have a physical reaction in your body. It makes people instantly tense up. Rules are heavy. The body reacts before the mind even catches up. Your shoulders go up, your breath tightens, your chest feels heavier, or maybe your eyes roll. Maybe you laugh out of discomfort. Perhaps you feel that little rebellious urge that tells you to do the exact opposite of what you're being told. It's interesting to me how immediate and automatic that reaction can be. Sometimes you're not even consciously aware of it. The word slips in, and before you know it, your nervous system is already responding. And maybe that's the thing. Rules aren't just rules. They aren't just neutral instructions. They're tied to all these moments in our life when rules meant punishment or shame or being controlled or being excluded. They're tied to memories of being told no. They're tied to moments where someone else's authority pressed down on your freedom, or maybe the opposite. They're tied to safety, to structure, to comfort, to having someone else make decisions for you. Either way, your body remembers. The body associates. So when the word rules appears, it's never just a word. It's a trigger, a story, a whole web of experiences rushing up all at once. So I think for a long time in history, people looked at religion to be this guiding force, this anchor that gave them some sort of rules or guidelines to follow in life. You look at every type of religion, and for the most part, there's always some set of instructions, some commandments or precepts or teachings or something that tells people how to behave, how to treat one another, how to make decisions. And from where I'm sitting in my current reality, it feels like there is not, this just isn't as present anymore. A lot of people my age, and even people older than me, are kind of turned off by the idea of religion. It does not seem like people are as involved with it as they once were. When you look at humanity's evolution and you look at studies from years and years ago, you see a trend. People do not go to church as much as they used to. People are not gathering in those same ways, at least not in the same numbers. And I'm not here to label that as good or bad, right or wrong. I am simply noticing. Because what I do notice is that religion, at least at one point, offered people a kind of compass. It kind of gave people rules and guidelines for daily living, for how to exist in the world. And now many people are not exposed to it in the same way. And for me, I found myself on the yogi's path, throwing up my double peace signs, and that's where I've landed for now. This is where I keep circling back to. And for me, these principles have become my version of what religion I feel like used to give people. I don't look at them as rules. I look at them as a compass. I look at them as my North Star that guides me while I'm moving through my life. Perfection is not the point. I am not aiming to check every box or do everything right all the time. That is not real. That is not human. What matters to me is having something I can return to when I'm faced with a choice. When I'm standing in front of a person or a situation or an opportunity and I don't know which way to go. These principles give me a way to pause, to check in, and to make a choice that feels more aligned with the life that I want to live. I think the reason I stick to this and gravitate towards this so much is because it feels so matter of fact. These don't feel foreign or complicated to me. They feel completely obvious. They feel like, oh yeah, of course I want to live this way. Of course I want to be this kind of person. And I think that's what makes it powerful, because the principles themselves feel like qualities of being a good person. But the difference, the reason why it's helpful to have them tied to a practice like yoga, is that there are endless and countless stories and teachings and pieces of literature. God, I love literature. And pieces of literature that bring them to life so I can engage with them on a deeper level. I can read about them. I can hear people talk about them. I can reflect and see myself in these examples. It gives my mind something to hold on to instead of just floating through life willy-nilly. You all know how I hate floating around through life willy-nilly. Anyways, I actively return to these stories and these conversations. I keep these concepts at the forefront of my brain because I want to move through life with intentionality. And that is why I want to share them with you today. Not because I think you need to follow them, not because I'm trying to convince you, but because I think they're worth knowing about, worth reflecting on, and maybe they'll spark something in you the way that they have sparked something in me. This is the Yamas and the Niyamas. The way that I see it, the Yamas and Niyamas are like my compass. Like I said, it's a North Star. I talk a lot about opinion shopping and how easy it is to get lost in what everyone else thinks and what they're doing. You ask for advice, you go to one friend, then another, you scroll online, you listen to strangers, and suddenly you are so full of other people's opinions that you can't even hear your own intuition anymore, your own truth. The Yamas and the Niyamas pull me back from all that bullshit. They remind me to tune in. They remind me to figure out for myself where it is that I am going, why it is that I want to go there, and how I can make sure I leave the world a little bit better than the way that I found it. There are countless texts that cover the Yamas and the Niyamas. I'm not here to reinvent what has already been written. I am here to reflect, to expand through the lens of my personal experience, my conversations with other people, my yoga teacher training, the book, The Yamas and the Niyamas, Exploring Yoga's Ethical Practice by Deborah Adele, and the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, translated by Sri Swami Satchidananda. Also, let me just preface, I'm going to pronounce things to the best of my ability, and that's all I have to say about that. These are the texts and the conversations that are shaping my understanding, and I want to bring them together with my own lived experience. Like I said, yoga is often thought of as poses. That is what most people see. The stretching, the moving, the flowing, the sweating, the pretty little postures. But yoga is so much bigger. It is this entire path, the Eightfold Path. You can imagine yoga as having different levels or layers that stack up on top of one another. Each layer matters. Each level has its own wisdom and purpose. The very first layer, the very first limb is Yama. The Yamas are the foundation. They are the bottom floor of the house that is yoga, or the first layer of cake. I love cake. Or the soil beneath the tree. Whatever metaphor makes sense to you, the Yamas are the starting point, and without them, the rest does not hold. There are 5 Yamas and 5 Niyamas. The first Yama is ahimsa, or nonviolence. The second is satya, or truthfulness. The third is ahimsa. JK, it's asteya. The third is asteya, non-stealing. 4, brahmacharya, moderation, or right use of energy. Number 5, aparigraha, non-possessiveness. And then there are 5 niyamas. Number 1, saucha, purity. Number 2, santosha, contentment. 3, tapas, discipline. 4, svadhyaya. Is it svadhyaya? Svadhyaya? I think it might be svadhyaya. Self-study. 5, I'm sorry, you guys. This is a hard one for me to pronounce. Ishvara pranidhana? Surrender. The 8-limb path of yoga is basically like a roadmap for life, okay? The yamas and niyamas become mirrors. They reflect back how I'm showing up. They remind me to pause and choose. They give me language for moments when I feel lost. They offer me structure, not as rules that trap me, but as this guidance that frees me. They're not about perfection. They're not about doing right all the time. They're not about performance. They are about awareness. They're about catching myself in the act and realizing I have another choice. I have a choice. The first yama is ahimsa, nonviolence. The definition I'm working with here comes from the places that I've mentioned above, my own experiences, the conversations I've had, my yoga teacher training, and the texts that have been guiding me. At its core, ahimsa is practicing kindness and compassion toward all beings, including yourself. It is about avoiding harm in thoughts, in words, and in actions. The sutra says, in the presence of one firmly established in non-violence, all hostilities cease. This is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Book 2, Sutra 35, translated by Sri Swami Satchidananda. Now, I think this is really interesting. I think everything's interesting, but I think this is really interesting because when you first hear the word nonviolence, most people immediately go, well, yes, of course. I don't want to harm others. I'm not out here punching people. I'm not going to commit violence. And I think that's where a lot of people stop because they only look at the physical aspect of the word violence. But to me, violence is so much more than that. Violence is also what happens in the inside of your head. It is the thoughts you have about yourself. It's the cruel things you silently tell yourself. It's the judgments or the harshness that you direct to other people, even if you never say it out loud. Those thoughts are a form of violence too. That's why I think it's important to expand on this idea of nonviolence beyond the obvious. So nonviolence is not just about not hitting someone. It's about compassion. It's about how you choose to think, how you choose to speak, how you choose to act. And to me, the opposite of violence is love. One of the simplest journaling prompts I've ever been given, and one I've expanded on myself, is just to list the things that you love about yourself. I know it sounds corny. I know, but it works. Because if you catch yourself in a moment of spiraling or beating yourself up, you can pause and flip the script. What do I actually love about myself right now? What is working right now? What is one positive thing I can see in myself in this moment? And the same thing applies to how we think about others. If you're angry or spiteful or resentful towards someone, maybe ask, what are some positive things about this person? Or if you can't even go there because you just really don't like them, what are some positive things I'm learning through not liking them? Because for the longest time, I thought I had to like everybody. I thought I wasn't allowed to use my discernment. But that is not what this is about. You do not need to pretend you love everyone, including people who have shown you harm. You do not need to force some fake light and love attitude. But what you can do, however, is use those moments of dislike or discomfort as mirrors. They can show you something about yourself, what you value, what you care about, what you do not want to be. And in that way, even those situations can be turned into opportunities for self-compassion. So when I think of ahimsa, I don't think of this toxic positivity. I don't think of plastering a smile and saying, I love everyone no matter what. I think of balance. I think of noticing when I'm out of balance with myself, when I'm not showing compassion to myself, when I'm wasting energy being unkind in my own head or towards others. And that's really the point here. How much energy we waste on not being compassionate, it drains us. It takes us away from what actually matters. Sometimes I even think that the word compassion can be swapped for the word nonviolence, because violence is this big, heavy, charged word, and it can sometimes scare people off. But compassion, we all understand that. So maybe ask yourself, where in your life can you be more compassionate with yourself? Where in your life can you extend more compassion towards others? And remember, this does not mean sacrificing your needs. This is not about it is about being honest with yourself, slowing down enough to notice when you're being harsh and asking, how can I flip the script here? How can I choose compassion instead? And to me, that is ahimsa. The second yama is satya. I'm going to go with satya, which is honesty and truthfulness. I define satya as being honest with yourself and with others, speaking and living truth in a way that is considerate and not harmful. You guys, this is my all-time favorite Yama and Niyama. It might be one of my favorite concepts in yoga, maybe one of my favorite concepts in all of time. I'm going to die on the hill that every single Yama and Niyama come back to truthfulness, to satya. Everything in my life can be stripped back to this one word. I have been dedicating the last 8 months of my life to contemplating what truthfulness really means to me. You will probably be able to tell through these reflections that a lot of where my awareness goes it goes right back to this. Because at its core, I think all of these principles, whether in yoga or in life outside of yoga, only work when you're living in truth. You can only act, think, and live in accordance with anything when you are having honest conversations with yourself. So everything comes back to truthfulness. If you're starting out with satya, I think the first question to sit with, it's simple, but it's huge, is what is your truth? What is your truth? Ask yourself this every day. Your truth may shift, or maybe it stays the same, but you're the only one that will know that. That's the heart of this yama, being true and honest with yourself. In the Yoga Sutras, satya is explained as not lying. You can take that in so many directions. You're the only one who really knows if you're lying, or even if you're lying about lying. It can become this endless spiral. That's why it's so important to contemplate this every day for yourself. For me, choosing to stay honest has revealed a lot. 8 months ago, if you would have asked me, I would have told you without hesitation that I am honest, that I do not lie, that I stay true to myself. I would have said that with 100% certainty, but now that I bring this word to the forefront of my mind daily, I notice all of the tiny ways I actually do lie. Not in some dramatic or scheming way, but in the small moments where I say something that's not fully true, just to avoid discomfort, to brush something over, or to keep the peace. These little lies happen way more often than I realized. And the hardest part has been noticing how often I had been lying to myself. The sutra says, to one established in truthfulness, actions and their results become subservient. This is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Book 2, Sutra 36, translated again by Sri Swami Satchidananda. When I first read that, it blew my mind. I'm going to say it again. To one established in truthfulness, actions and their results become subservient. What I have noticed is that when I live in truth, when I embody it and not just think about it, things shift in my life. Opportunities appear. People leave. People come. Things align or dissolve without me forcing a thing. It feels like embodying truth has cleared this path for me. Patanjali also explains, all nature loves an honest person. You do not need to run after things, for they will run after you. If you are always truthful, if no lie comes from your mouth, a time will come when all you say will come true, even if you say something by mistake. That teaching, it just sticks with me. The more I live honestly, the more I see it proven in my own life, and the less anxious I feel. I did not realize how much anxiety followed these little lies. Even tiny white lies. It is as if deceiving in any form creates tension in the body because on some level you know it's not true. So when you allow your life to be more of an open book, when you are not afraid of your truth, even when your truth is messy or uncomfortable or not beautiful, things become clearer. And I want to emphasize that the truth is not always this pretty thing. It's not always soft or easy. Oftentimes it's not, but it's real, and reality is grounding. And at the same time, I circle back to the first Yama, ahimsa, nonviolence. Satya doesn't mean using the truth like a weapon. It doesn't mean if someone asks you if you like their outfit, you have to blurt out that you hate it. That's not the point. Truth and compassion can live together. It is about finding discernment in the context of each moment, staying true while also being kind. It is this dance. It is a practice. That is why this Yama cannot be taken on this surface level. It runs deep. It's complex. And only you will ever know what Satya truly means in your life. The more you practice truthfulness, the more you pause before reacting, the more you let yourself tune in, the clearer it becomes. You do not just wake up one day transformed into a truthful person. You build this bone inside of you through practice, through effort, through daily reflection. And in the beginning, it might feel strange or confusing. You might even feel like nothing is happening, but over time, you realize that this is the work. So, some questions I will leave you with. What is preventing you from being your most truthful self? Who do you hold back your full truth from? Who do you hide your authentic self from? How could you practice expressing your truth with them or with yourself the next time the opportunity comes? To me, this is Satya. The third Yama is asteya, non-stealing. The definition I'm working with here is not taking what is not freely given. And this does not just apply to material things. This applies to time, energy, and ideas. At first, asteya feels very black and white. Matter of fact, like, well, yes, of course, people shouldn't steal. I don't steal. I don't need to contemplate this Yama. If you would have asked me a couple of months ago if I steal, if I'm a thief, I would have said no. But the more I have expanded on this Yama, the more I have read about it, the more I have contemplated, the more I have realized that, again, circling back to truthfulness, I actually have been stealing. I have been a thief in my own life. Think about the moments when you say you want to go for a run, but you end up scrolling on your phone for a half an hour. You're stealing from your own time. Think about the times of you're on the phone with your mom to catch up, but instead of listening, you're distracted, doing other things. You're stealing from her. Or the moments you enter a conversation, you're half checked out, lost in your own thoughts. You're stealing from that moment. Think about showing up late and stealing someone else's time. Think about sharing an idea that wasn't fully yours, something you picked up from someone else without giving them any credit. That, too, is a form of stealing. And finally, think about all those times you go into an interaction with the focus of what you can get from someone, their energy, their resources, all of their attention. That's stealing as well. Think about when your awareness is in the past. You're stealing from the present. When your awareness is in the future, you're stealing from the present again. I have noticed that one of the biggest ways I steal from myself is by ruminating, catastrophizing, and obsessing. My mind tricks me into believing that I will find relief if I replay the past or try to anticipate the future. But it's complete bogus. It's not true, and it's stealing from the present version of myself. This Yama is also very literal. Do not steal products, goods, or services. And I will be honest and say that years ago, I did steal material items. I no longer do, but I'm not going to pretend that it has never happened. That is me being honest. The sutra says, to one established in non-stealing, all wealth comes. This is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Book 2, Sutra 37, translated by Sri Swami Satchidananda. And I think this is brilliant, because so many people believe you must take in order to become rich, but here it says the opposite. By practicing non-stealing, you actually become the world's richest person. In my yoga teacher training, we read, all of us are thieves. Knowingly and unknowingly, we steal things from nature. With every minute, with every breath, we pick nature's pockets. Whose air do we breathe? It's nature's. But that does not mean we should stop breathing and die. Instead, we should receive each breath with reverence and use it to serve others. Then we are not stealing. If we accept it and do not give anything in return, we are thieves. This is commentary on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Book 2, Sutra 37, translated by Sri Swami Satchidananda. That teaching really stuck with me because, yes, we are always taking. We take from this earth every single day, but this Yama is not about refusing to take. It's about reciprocity. It's about giving back. Take in a breath, breathe it out. Take from nature, put something back into nature. Pick up trash when you see it. Share food. Help where you can. There was this moment in my training, and it really just felt like the universe giving me this perfect example. We had been discussing this Yama all day, and when class ended, a few of us walked out of the studio and we found money on the ground. $40. 2 20s, people. One of the girls took a 20 and I took the other. And immediately I knew what I wanted to do. This is not me bragging at all. I used it to buy sweet treats for my classmates the next day, because to me that was the whole point of non-stealing. I was given a gift and I chose to put it back into something else. I did not need the $20, so I gave it back in a different form, food and joy, and it felt like the perfect way to embody what asteya means. The more I sit with this Yama, the more I see how much fear and scarcity drives us to steal. We grab and hold on and we hoard because we're afraid it will not come back. But everything in the material world is moving. Things come and go, ideas, people, money, love, possessions. The more I practice non-stealing, the more I let things move in and out without gripping. If someone is meant to come, it'll come. If it's meant to go, it'll go. You can ask yourself, what are the things I cannot let go of? What am I afraid of losing? Why am I so attached? Do I believe I will never get it back? Do I believe I will not be myself without it? On the surface level, yes, non-stealing means do not take what is not yours. But if you really look, you will see how much we steal every single day. Like I said, from the earth, from each other, from ourselves, which is why I love this Yama, because it does not stop at do not steal. It asks us to give back, to be generous, to show up fully, to not waste our time or anyone else's. In another passage, it says, we are not going to change the whole world, but we can change ourselves and feel free as birds. We can be serene even in the midst of calamities, whatever, and by our serenity, make others more tranquil. Serenity is contagious. If we smile at someone, he or she will smile back, and the smile costs nothing. Another passage says, we are not going to change the whole world, but we can change ourselves and be free as birds. We can be serene even in the midst of chaos, and by our serenity, make others more tranquil. Serenity is contagious. If we smile at someone, he or she will smile back, and a smile costs nothing. We should plague everyone with joy. If we are to die in a minute, why not die happy and laughing? But a carefree life is possible only with a well-controlled mind, one that is free of anxiety, one without personal desires or possessions. This is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Book 2, Sutra 37. So, I think about asteya as a practice of balance. If the world is already so tilted so far towards stealing, then why not tilt yourself towards giving? Why not smile? Why not offer a pen if you have 20 and your coworker needs one? Why not pick up the trash when you see it? Why not give back to the earth that gives to you every single day? And remember, giving does not mean sacrificing yourself. It does not mean draining yourself dry. Just like they tell you on an airplane to put your own mask on before helping others. You have to take care of yourself first. But if you are in a position to give, then do it. If you can sit with someone and really listen, do it. If you can sit with yourself and not steal from your own energy, do it. To me, this is asteya. Fourth yama is brahmacharya, wise use of energy. Traditionally, this has been interpreted as celibacy, but more broadly, it is about using your energy wisely and intentionally, not wasting it, not overindulging. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali say, by one established in contingence, vigor is gained. I looked up the word contingence and found it means the ability to exercise self-control, especially over natural impulses. This really shifted how I thought about this yama because it is not only about sex, even though that is the obvious starting point here. It's about where you give your energy, where you leak it, where you waste it, and how you can hold it more intentionally. For me, brahmacharya is about being truthful, here we go again, but truthful in my interactions. Sometimes when we love or feel drawn to someone, we want to give and give and give, but that kind of giving can actually be selfish because it makes us feel good to give. And there's nothing wrong with giving, but if we do not pause and ask why, we can end up pouring our energy out that we do not actually have. To live with vitality, with mental clarity, with physical health, we need life force within us. And if we are always giving it away, whether emotionally, physically, or mentally, we deplete ourselves. And I know when people read old texts that talk about abstinence, the instinct is to roll your eyes and say, this is ancient and it's outdated. And I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. I do not care what you do, but I think it is worth caring about what you do. You should care about what you do, to check in with yourself, to get clear on why you're doing what it is that you're doing. And especially when it comes to intimacy, because intimacy is powerful. Sex is powerful. It can be fun and casual, and that might be fine. It can also be deep and transformative, but either way, it is worth asking yourself how you feel about it. How you feel about yourself before, during, and after. Do you feel charged or drained? Do you feel clear or confused? Do you feel open or shut down? That curiosity alone can shift this entire practice. And this does not only apply to sex. Everything is energy. If you are constantly pouring energy out and never replenishing, what happens? A battery that is drained cannot give power. A battery that is charged can. That is the heart of this yama. Nature itself teaches this. There are limits built into everything. A woman who becomes pregnant cannot become pregnant again until she gives birth. That is nature's way of setting a boundary. The day has a sunrise and sunset. Seasons come and go. Everything in nature has limits, and without those limits, there would be no order. So why do we resist the idea that our own energy also needs limits? The sutra says, by observing celibacy, we preserve not just physical energy alone, but mental, moral, intellectual, and ultimately spiritual energy as well. Sexual energy that is preserved gets transformed into subtle energy called ojas. This is similar to personal magnetism. It tones the entire personality, builds the nerves, improves brain power, and calms the mind. There is a similar word to ojas. I think this is ojas. There is a similar word to ojas in English, ozone. It is the early morning before the sunrise. We can go out and breathe the ozonic wind, which has a special vibration and energy to it. But once the sun's rays fall, this effect is lost. That is why the period between 4 and 6 in the morning is called Brahma Muhurtam. Brahma Muhurtam, or Brahmic time, or divine period. And it is a very sacred time to meditate. This is Book 2, Sutra 38, translation and commentary by Sri Swami Sachidananda. I find this to be absolutely beautiful to sit with. I think about energy not just as something physical, but as something subtle that builds your character, your magnetism, your ability to focus and move through the world. Brahmacharya is not about being rigid. It's about awareness. Where are you wasting energy? Where are you overindulging? Where are you not giving yourself enough? Maybe it's too much scrolling. Maybe too much worry about the future. Too much replaying the past. Too much food or alcohol or stimulation, or maybe the opposite, not enough food, not enough expression, not enough rest. Only you know your limits, and your body usually tells you. How many times have you thought afterwards, that was too much, I went too far, I drank too much, I ate too much, I gave too much, or I held back too much? That awareness is your compass. This Yama also asks us to think about boundaries with others, yes, but also boundaries with yourself. How do you care for your body? How do you use your energy? Do you waste it on things you do not value? Do you give it to people who do not honor it? Or do you hold it? Do you channel it? Do you use it in ways that nourish you? I also think it's worth thinking about wasting energy in subtler ways, ruminating endlessly, worrying about things you cannot control, or over-consuming social media, over-consuming nostalgia, or regret about the past, over-consuming anxiety about the future. All of this drains life force. And sometimes the waste comes from holding back instead of overindulging, not eating enough, not speaking when you have something true to say, not resting when you need to rest. That too is a misuse of energy. Some questions to sit with here are, where in your life are you overconsuming? Where in your life are you wasting energy? Where could discipline or devotion actually give you more freedom? How do you feel when someone crosses your boundaries? How do you feel when you cross someone else's? To me, Brahmacharya is about the wise use of energy, showing up each day with a full battery, choosing where you place your attention, choosing where you give your life force, because when you have it, you can give it. And when you waste it, you have nothing left to offer. That to me is Brahmacharya. Okay, you guys, this is 40 minutes long. I have one more Yama to get through, and I haven't even gotten to the Niyamas. I think I'll stop this for now. And next week, I will pick up with the last Yama, and I will do the 5 Niyamas, and we'll talk about it, and I'll just keep sharing and exploring and expanding and reflecting, and I hope this added any type of value. I hope this was something for ya. This was a different way. I wasn't expecting to do this. Let me just say, when I sat down to record this, I wasn't expecting to do it like this, but here we are. And yeah, I hope you guys had a good day. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good week. Start reflecting on this shit, man. It's cool as hell. It's cool as hell. Anyways, this is the good. This is what I got going on. I will continue writing and expanding and doing the things, and I'll probably end up releasing this on my Substack too when it's fully finished, but you guys got a little look into what it is I'm creating and what I care about and contemplate. Find one of these to just sit with and contemplate it. Let it sit there in your brain. But anyways, I love you guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you, little chickens, you little chickadees, you little chickies. Remember, we're all just human beings, and we're not aiming for perfection here. Don't even dare do any of that. No. Okay. I love you guys, and I will talk to you next week, and we can talk more about this stuff. Okay, anyways, I'm rambling. Okay, I love you.